What's up mga kachimek? It's your boy Sir Jello once again for another episode of Kachimek Adventure. So for this particular session, we are to continue on discussing with regards to the topic carbon compounds, specifically on hydrocarbons. So if you can recall, either in our synchronous session or in a lecture video that I posted here before, we've talked about the history of carbon, or even the special nature of carbon, what makes it special. So for today's session, we are to recall the special properties of carbon, recall the different structures, and identify the rules in naming alkanes. So we'll be naming alkanes with substituents and even alkanes with alkyl halide substituent. So without further ado, let's go! Alright, so to begin, let's recall the special properties of carbon. So though we will not enumerate all because I have a separate video for that, we learned in the previous lesson that carbon are so special because it has 4 valence electron, which either which cannot give nor receive but rather share electrons, and it can readily form with other elements such as hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and other carbon atoms, forming single, double, or triple bond. And eventually, we talked about its special property we call allotrope, or how it creates allotropes of its own, how to transform graphite into diamond, and how they were able to create other allotropes, which eventually led to a lot of things, like fullerene. A research one research said that it is being used in helping helping solve HIV cases, or HIV disease, and also nanotubes, which are being used in our technological devices, and even some medicinal practitioners are using nanotube for their hospitals and for their surgeries, and many other things like BC8 and graphene, which has great impact on our community right now. So in short, carbon is so important that we separated the entire discussion on carbon into organic chemistry. So it branched out into its own, and now scientists are focusing more their efforts towards discovering carbon compounds, because as of the moment there are 20 million organic compounds, and in fact, just the trivia, carbon can form more compounds than any other element in the periodic table. That's how carbon is, that's how amazing carbon is. And the problem that we encountered having a lot of carbon compounds, or organic compounds in particular, is that it will be kind of difficult to name them. That is why we will be helped by the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemists, or the IUPAC, in naming them. So last time, we talked about basic alkanes or simple alkanes. So this particular period, now we will set the rule in naming alkanes with certain substituents or certain attachments or side chain. Some books would call it side chain, attachment, branches, or just simply substituent. So here we go for the rules in naming alkane. So we learned in the previous lesson that alkanes are aliphatic hydrocarbons, meaning they are straight chained. They are non-aromatic. And there's no double or triple bond, that's why they are saturated. As I've mentioned, saturation or saturated hydrocarbon, because a carbon has 4 valence electron, and it is actually holding the same amount of attachment like it should be. So 4 ang kaya niyang hawakan, 4 ang naka-attach sa kanya. That's what we mean when we say it's saturated. Parang nagtitimpla ka ng juice, 'di ba? Tama yung timpla, perfect yung water sa powder. No? Hindi lasaw, hindi masyadong strong. Diba? Parang perfect, tamang timpla. Parang pagmamahal, dapat tamang timpla lang. Hindi sobra, hindi ko lang. Hugot ni Sir Jello. Anyways, the formula is CnH2n plus 2. So if we want to know how many hydrogen are attached in our alkane, we will be helped with this formula. And I elaborated that in our previous video. And going back, now we named some basic hydrocarbon, alkane. The one that met the hydrogen, it was called methane with 1 carbon. Paano pag dalawang carbon? 2. That's why ethane. Ethane, kapag nagdibo ka na, ethane ka na. And third, sige, baduyin talaga ang joke. Propane, 4 butane, and the rest are your polygons. Now, pent, hex, sep, oct, non, dec. And for 11 and 12, unce and 12, andecane and dodecane. Now, how about we apply this in structural formula, condensed, and skeletal formula? So, by the way, I made a mistake in the last video when I talked about the different kind of structural formula. So, this one is called a structural formula. My error there where I want to correct it right now. I draw the condensed formula incorrectly. So when we talk about condensed formula, we simply shrink the structural formula. What do I mean by that? So if I am to rewrite this into a condensed formula, it should be C, and how many hydrogen attached to it? CH3. That would be CH3. Followed by the next carbon with the hydrogen attached to it. So CH2, and then next is the next carbon, CH2, CH2, and then CH3. So this is my condensed structural formula. Literally, I condense them, I shrink them to make it simpler and make it less spacious as compared to the structural formula. If you notice, there are 3 hydrogen on the terminal carbons, meaning at the end of the chain, carbon at the end of the chain, and 2 hydrogen in the middle. So that's how you draw structural formula. We also learned in the last video how to draw it in a skeletal form. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the question is, how do we name them? This is not a mountain range, it's a skeletal formula. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we go back to the table, 5 carbon in an alkane with a single bond means that's a pentane. So the name for these 3, now these 3 are the same, but these are all called pentane. Diba? It's a shampoo, pentane. Diba? Do yun. Now, how about this one? Now, you may pause the video and try answering it on your own. Okay, hopefully you've paused the video. So in order to identify the name of a simple alkane like this one, you have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8. Going back to the table, 8 carbon. Now, if you haven't memorized this yet, you may always go back or save a copy of this table on your desktop. So octane. So this will become octane. If I am to write it in a condensed formula, this will be CH3, CH2, 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 CH3. That would be taxing for me if I am to draw it. However, if I would like to write it in my skeletal formula, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like a zipper with more space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, forgive the curvings. So, sa internet problem yan, dapat pointy edge siya. Sharp edges. Sharp turning points. Okay, now how about this one? Pause the video. Okay, very good. Achievement, galing. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your butane. So, butane, 4 carbon is butane. So, butane and the beast. Okay, ulit-ulit ba do yun? So, the rule is, we identify the longest carbon chain and name it. The chain is called the parent chain. Some books would call it the main chain. Some would call it the mother chain or the stem chain. Those 4 are synonymous. Parent, mother, stem, main chain. So don't get confused if the other textbooks or reading materials would use other term for parent chain. Now, how about if we place some attachment, say for instance like this one. So this is a structural formula with a carbon attached to another carbon. If I am to write this in a condensed formula muna, this becomes CH3, and then this one will become CH kasi isang H na lang, and then attached is another CH3. To emphasize attachment, I'll still place a line, and then followed by CH2, CH2, and then CH2. How many carbon is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would be CH3. Okay, there you have it. Now, if I am to write it in a skeletal formula, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's an attachment here. Now, how do I name this one? The first rule, if we go back, is to identify the longest carbon chain and name it. So my longest carbon chain would either be the straight chain or this chain from the top going to the right, or from the top going to the left. So let's see the scenario. If I go from top going to the left, that would be 1, 2, 3. If I go from left to right, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I go from top to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Parehas lang siya. So sir, alin yung pipiliin ko? Piliin mo yung mahal mo. Charot lang. So you either choose going from top to the right or left to the right. Bakit? Sige, let's see. Let's try both. Later, we will check and try both. First, let's have the left to right. So if I number them, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is hexane. So the name will be hexane. However, I have an attachment here. An attachment which is a methane. So this is a methane. Sir, bakit naging methane? That's one carbon with hydrogens attached to it. So that's a methane. But since it is attached to a parent chain, we cannot call it a methane. Attachments are replaced with YL prefix. So instead of having methane, this becomes methyl. Right? So every attachment, take note of this one, will be replaced with the subscript YL, or with the suffix rather, YL. So methyl hexane. Now, is that the final name, methyl hexane? The answer is no. Because what if the methyl is in the third position or third carbon? What if it's in fourth? Are those three different positions the same? Talking about the same compound? Absolutely not. So that is why probably have your thought in your head, in cases that the attachment is in the second, therefore I have to say that it's in the second carbon chain. So this becomes, bear with me now, because we are to add an attachment, this becomes 2-methyl hexane. So that will be the name of this structure. Now, if I go from top to bottom, or top to right, 1, 2, 3, kasi longest chain din to 4, 5, 6, that still would be the same, diba? The attachment, ito na yung magiging attachment mo. So that would be 2-methyl and still a hexane. Same goes for this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because these all three are the same. That would be 2-methyl hexane. Nagiget ba? Sana nagiget. Kung nagiget, type in the comment section your first letter, the first letter of your name. Sorry. So if naget yung part na to, type the first letter of your name in the comment section here in the YouTube. Okay? So the second rule gives us identify all the substituents of the structure, and we change the suffix in to "il". So that is the second attachment, the second rule. Now, how about if we have different attachments? So first, still follow the claim of the longest rule, or follow the rule of claiming the longest chain. Sorry, I'm interchanging words. So the longest chain would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, your mind will think that the longest chain is always the straight chain. However, you have an attachment here, but it's connected to the last carbon. Therefore, this will be the part of a chain. So, ito yung unang chain na possible. Pwedeng ito, or pwedeng mula dito. Okay, let me just change color para makita nyo. Pwedeng ito yung longest chain ko. Again, I'm not sure yet kung alin. Or pwedeng ito. Obviously, ito, hindi ito. Hindi yan ang longest chain ko. So, pwedeng mula dito hanggang dito. Sorry, medyo messy na. The point is, I have to identify my longest chain. So, let me just erase that to avoid confusion. So, either I could go from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lang siya. If I go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That would be 10. Kung dito naman, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Either way, parehas siya 10. So, I could simply assume that this is my longest chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. By the way, you can start counting either from left to right or right to left. No? The point is, you have to start counting where the attachment will get the lowest possible number. What do I mean by that? Here, I have two. This is a methyl. No, a methane becomes an attachment, so it's a methyl. Ito naman, sir, anong tawag dyan sa parang antenna? So, it's a methyl first. You add another carbon. Anong sunod sa methyl? No, it becomes ethyl. So, ethyl. And the numbers would be 2 and 6. 2, 2, 6. If I start right to left, so sir, bakit pwede mag-start right to left? Imagine we're talking about three-dimensional structures. So, they are rotating, they could be vertical, they could be horizontal, could be horizontal, they could be slanting. No, we could flip them over and over again. Therefore, no, we have to be accurate in numbering them and naming them. So, eto, 2, 6. Pag na-start ako from right to left, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, 5 and 9 is 14 against 2, 6, which is 8. So, this is the correct way in numbering them. And to name it, 10 is decane. So, I'll write decane. Okay, and bear with me now. Supposedly, your mind would tell you right now, no, as you are watching this, no, mind reader si Sir Jello, you'll say it would be 2-methyl, 6-ethyl decane. But for some reason, the chemists in IUPAC said that it should be arranged alphabetically when we have different attachments or substituents. Meaning, ethyl will comes first before methyl. So, it will become 6-ethyl, now the number and position of ethyl, hyphen, the number and position of methyl. So, we use hyphen to separate letters from numbers. So, the name would be 6-ethyl 2-methyl decane. Naget? Okay, hopefully naget. Kung naget, type the first letter of your surname in the chat box or in the comment section. So, I need to see 2 comments as of the moment. So, yan, that's the third rule. Number the carbons of the parent chain from the end that gives the substituent the lowest numbers. When comparing a series of numbers, the series that is the lowest is one which contains the lowest number. This is very lengthy. At the occasion of the first difference. So, in short, no, I set up the rule para mas ma-appreciate natin before stating the statement. So, if 2 or more side chains are in equivalent positions, assign the lowest number to the one which will come first in the name. What do we mean by the second statement? Say, for instance, we have this kind of example. So, ignore mo na yan. Let's go back here. What if I have this kind of example? I have a methyl here. I have an ethyl here. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a no name. So, the no name. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yan. So, if I start from left to right, it will give me values of 4, and 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I start from right to left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6. So, equal yung number nila. So, sir, where do I start? Pwede bang left to right lang or right to left? Parehas siya? No, it would be different. According to the third rule, we assign the lowest number to the one which will come first in the name. In short, alphabetize. Alphabetize them or make them, arrange them in alphabetical order. So, I'll start, since equidistant sila from the end, I'll start from right to left. So, let me use the blue for consistency. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, when I write it, it will become 4-ethyl, 6-methyl nonane. So, para hindi na masyadong mahaba ang video, I'll dictate na lang. 4-ethyl, 6-methyl nonane. Rather than 4-methyl or 6-ethyl, 4-methyl nonane. So, that would be the name of this compound. That is our third rule. So, try this in your paper. You may pause the video while you're doing it. I'll be writing the skeletal formula. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A methyl here, and then an ethyl here. So, pwedeng sa baba mo siya ilagay. Pwede naman sa taas. No, it's okay. Usually, sa taas natin ilalagay. I mean, sa opposite side ng curve or near the point or the turning point rather. How do we name this? Pause the video and name it. Okay? Sige, very good. First, identify the longest chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, 7, that is a heptane. A heptane, hooray! Wale! And then, you go from left to right or right to left. Right to left would give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, 4 and 6. Left to right will give you 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 and 4. No, sana nakaka-follow na. So, obviously, minsan kasi isang tingin mo lang, alam mo na mas closer siya sa left. We'll start by counting from left to right. And then, identify the attachments. So, 4-ethyl and then 2-methyl. So, the name would be 4-ethyl 2-methyl heptane. Hopefully, you got the correct answer. Alright, so that's our third rule. Now, for the fourth rule, what if merong attachment na pareho? Try this in your paper. Pause the video. Okay, hopefully you've tried. So, same rule. Find the longest chain. That would be, I'll start here now because obviously mas lesser ang number if I start from right to left. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you have 9, that's a nonane. However, you have 2 methyl attachments on the 2 and 3. So you might answer 2 methyl, 3 methyl. That's a good guess, a good try. Or you might answer 2,3-methyl nonane. That's a better try. But the correct one is, take note of this one, we identify the positions of the number if they are of the same substituent or alkyl group. So that would be 2, 3, separated by a comma because they are positioned in 2 different carbons. So the second and third carbon. And instead of saying simply methyl, we will now add a prefix di. So, hyphen separates numbers from words. So, di, methyl, nonane. So, 2, 3, dimethyl, nonane. Okay? Nakuha? Hopefully, nakaka-follow. So, again, it's okay to commit mistake. It's how we learn. We learn from our mistakes, from our failures. So, that's the fourth rule. So, we're down to the fourth and finally later the last rule. So, if the same substituent occurs more than once, the location of each point on which the substituent occurs is given. In addition, the number of times the substituent group occurs is indicated by a prefix di, tri, tetra. Kung 4, tetra. Kung 5, penta. And then hexa, hepta kung madami. No? But don't worry, we'll not give more than 4 sigurong the same attachment. So, yan. Halimbawa, ito, ignore nyo lang to. Another example, what if ganito yung itsura? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. They are of the same position, but in different, of different attachment. So, obviously, now we already learned that we will start alphabetically. This is just a checkpoint so far of our rules before we proceed. So, that's 10. So, decane. And then, you have 4-ethyl, 7-methyl decane. Okay? So, hopefully, na-get kung bakit ganun yung pangalan. So, the fifth rule is if there are 2 or more different substituents, they are listed in alphabetical order using the base name. Ignore the prefixes. The only prefix is iso for isopropyl or isobutyl. What do we mean by this one? So, halimbawa, we increase a certain or we add more things here. So, halimbawa, nilagyan ko dito ng isa pang methyl. Sige, try and name this in your paper. Name this structure in your paper. So, halimbawa, may methyl dito. Sorry, medyo, messy. Yan. So, what will be the name? So, to name this one, hopefully you've tried it. Again, count the longest chain or identify the longest chain. That would be a decane. Next is identify the attachment. You have methyl on 3 and 7 and an ethyl on the 4th. So, you know that 3 and 7 will be dimethyl. So, para hindi ka ma-confuse, pwede mo siya isulat separately. So, 3,7 dimethyl. And then 4-ethyl before you combine them. Your mind, because of the rule, will tell you dapat mauna yung dimethyl kasi di na siya. No, but for some reason, according to the chemists, again, from IUPAC, we don't consider the prefixes in alphabetizing them. So, still, mauna pa rin si ethyl rather than the methyl. So, 4-ethyl, 3, 7 dimethyl decane. So, kung medyo nalilito pa, you can always rewatch the video, pause, slow it down, and then take some time to grasp it. So, medyo binibilisan ko kasi for the sake na shorter lang ang video. Okay? So, that is our fifth rule. Now, if there are 2 or more substituents, they are listed in alphabetical order using the base name. Now, we ignore the prefixes. And those are the rules in naming alkane. Now, how about if we introduce alkyl halides? Now, alkyl halides are halogen attachments. So, technically, we have 4 halogens that sometimes attach to our hydrocarbon. So, fluoro, chloro, and bromo iodo. So, FClBrI. These are the elements in group 7. So, one special property of carbon is that they readily attach to halogens. That's why we have this alkyl halides. Now, the same rule applies for these alkyl halides. So, halimbawa, we have this one. So, find the longest chain, the longest carbon chain. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be butane because it's 4. And F is fluoro. So, hindi siya, kapag merong letter dito, ibig sabihin alkyl halide siya, FClBrI. Hindi siya fluoril, chloril, bromil, or iodil. We use O in their suffixes. So, fluoro becomes fluoro, and then 2. So, 2 fluoro in lower cases lang, fluorobutane. So, one word, 2 fluorobutane. Now, how about if we have this one, an alkyl and a methyl? So, same, longest chain. They are close to the right, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, that would be 3 bromo, 4 methyl. Now, we arrange them alphabetically. Sakto, nauna ang B. So, 3 bromo, 4 methyl, separated by hyphen, and then 9, is no name. Nagiget ba? If nagiget, type your middle initial in the YouTube comment. So I need to see 3 different letters in the YouTube comment. Okay, and then how about if they are of the same? So don't worry, baka tatakot dyan. Pares lang siya as this one. So ginawa lang siyang 3-dimensional. So paano sir pag ganito? So they are positioned in the second if you count from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that is a pentane. And then you have 1, 2, 2. So dapat lagay mo parehas 2 and 2. For some reason you have to indicate 2 times 2, 2. But since they are different, no, I'm sorry, my mistake. Magkaiba pala sila, hindi sila dimethyl. So 2 muna, and then the first one that will come first is C rather than F. So 2 chloro, and then 2 fluoropentane. So that's how you include alkyl halides in your hydrocarbon. Okay? Nagiget ba? Any questions so far? No? So kung wala nang katanungan, syempre hindi kayo makakatanong dito. This will be your task for today. Try naming this following compounds. So start with the basic. Upload this in the Google Classroom. And this one, ano pa? We add multiple attachment. Sige. And the third, okay. The fourth one, and the last one. So let's make this one more interesting. This one along. We have 3 carbon chain, and here. Okay. So for your task for today, try solving this one and submit this in our Google Classroom. Okay? So, yan, just to end our session, these are not random lines, random structures. We use this in our daily life. Now, the most common example is the butane in your sangyupsalan or even your shilane at your house. No? It contains both propane and butane. And many other uses such as heating and cooling house for our air condition, fireplaces, fuel cells, light, plastic products, no? Even that are made up of ethane and propane, fertilizer, fabric, and then motor fuel, no? Liquefied natural gas, no? And many other things, no? That uses this alkane. So again, these are not just random ideas, random concepts that we throw to you. We use them unconsciously in our everyday life. And to end, no, just like alkanes, we never leave our roots. We just grow new branches. So you are the parent chain. No, continue growing. Continue looking for attachments, substituents until you get to be the best version of yourself. So this has been Kachimik Jello. Peace out.